Welcome to Lessons from the Cockpit. I'm Belinda Sandor. Let's get started. Welcome, everybody. Thank you for coming. I'm thrilled you're here. For those of you who are joining Lessons from the Cockpit for the first time, I'm Belinda Sandor. I'm the founder of the VA Connection, where I coach and mentor established and aspiring VAs to create, grow, and scale their businesses. And I work with my students in my free online classroom, my community, my courses, and my coaching programs. And I'm thrilled you're here. I'm going to be your host today for Lessons from the Cockpit, my weekly live stream show that airs every Tuesday at 11:30 p.m. And today we're going to talk about this whole concept of controlling our thoughts. All right, really important topic. And I love that so many of you are here. So let me know where you're coming in from in the comments. I would love to say hello to you. So come on in. Now, we are streaming everywhere. We are on Facebook. We are on LinkedIn. We are on Twitter and YouTube. And if you're catching us on YouTube, definitely click the subscribe button so that you don't miss any of our free live trainings. We have live trainings every single week, and also ring the bell so that you'll be notified. Okay, great. Now, while you're coming in, hello, everybody. We're going to talk about how important it is to monitor and to manage our thoughts. And before we dive into that, I want to introduce myself to you. I know we have some new people here. So this is me and my daughter, Emily, in 2010, when I was just starting my VA business, and my life had taken a very unexpected turn. When I think back on it, and I do reflect on this from time to time, kind of the feeling that I had was that I was lost. I was lost. And it's interesting because we kind of plow along through life, and, we're checking the boxes, doing the things. And then one day I looked up and I realized, I was way off track. And it's interesting because a lot of what caused me to get off track were my thoughts, right? And so we're going to talk about that today. But here I am. I'm a few months shy of my 50th birthday. And all the things that I was aiming for, I wasn't even near. I was getting divorced, even though I wanted to be happily married, was selling my home because I hadn't been able to pay the mortgage. I had a business that was failing, that I was allowing to generate a lot of debt, trying to save it, trying to take care of my family. And, everywhere I looked, there was really a mess. And at the core of this really was that I had lost myself. I had lost what was important to me. I had been in prime time people pleasing for decades, and something just snapped in me. And I just thought, I'm not doing this anymore. I'm not doing this anymore. And at the core of this was taking charge of my thoughts and thinking about what was important for me and what was going to make a difference. So here I am, in complete turmoil. And the thing is that, we are raised, and this is at the core of it, we are raised to not be selfish. And especially most of our viewers today here are women, and women in particular, I believe, are raised, to think, put other people first, be polite, be this, be that. And I had been polite and putting other people first to the point where I pretty much no longer existed. And that is not a recipe for what you want. So there's the practical story about, I told everyone I knew, and that's really important about this VA business that I was starting. And I did a lot of things that I teach in the VA Connection, strategies that worked for me and had success, absolutely had success. I worked with, I have over 20,000 billable hours under my belt. I've worked with over 200 clients. I've earned well over $1 million being a virtual assistant. But at the core of this was taking charge of my thoughts. And here is an example of that as well. So I'm unhappily married. I want to be in a successful relationship. And I sat down and I actually wrote down, what did I want? I still have the list of what I was looking for in a partner. And interestingly enough, early on in my relationship with my now husband, this is our wedding day, I sat down with Greg and my list, and I said, this is where I'm going. I want to be in in a successful marriage, I want, to have a family that is, what's the word I want to use? Joined. I mean, because he had kids, I had a daughter. I wanted us to be together as a cohesive family. I wanted family, rituals around the holidays. And there were so many things that I wanted, and I got clear about them. And I sat down, like I said, pretty early in our relationship, and I talked to him about it. And I said, this is where I'm going. Do you want to come with me? Which is very different from twisting myself around to try to fit the relationship, the job, the fill in the blank that I had been doing for so many years. And he said, yes. And so for me, that wasn't, we're getting married, we're done, it's all good. It's, we're heading in the same direction. Let's see let's see what happens next. Let's see what happens next. And then over time, we decided that we wanted to stay together. So getting married at 60 to the right person was well worth the wait, because every day I wake up and I'm like, we're doing this together in a way that I've always wanted to. And the recent culmination of that has been purchasing this farm and, or farmhouse, I should say. Farm implies that we have crops and livestock. We don't. We have chickens. We have 7 chickens in the backyard, soon to be at least doubled. But, we bought this farmhouse and we're working on it together, and, we're nailing plywood down and, doing all these things to make it our home. And again, got really clear. Greg wasn't sure about moving. And I sat down and I thought, what is important to me, and got really clear. And then it started coming together. And it's funny because a lot of people think, getting this farmhouse, you found it so quickly. But what they don't know is that I started to repair my credit 13 years ago. I started to pay down my debt 13 years ago. I got my credit score back, right, a few years ago. And even, other things that were along the way, going to AAA in January and with the map and circling all these towns. And every time we went to see Emily, seeing another town and getting clear and narrowing down the criteria until we got here. And so what happens is that my thoughts, it was important to manage my thoughts every step of the way, because really up until the moment that we closed, it wasn't a done deal. But I had to keep my head in the game. And it's the same thing with business, because with business, you don't start your business and then all of a sudden you have 10 clients and you're making, $5,000 a month. It's progressive. And keeping your head in the game is so important. And in order to do that, you have to take charge of your thoughts. So when I wasn't sure we were going to get the mortgage, when I wasn't sure Greg was going to buy into this, I just kept saying to myself, this or something better, calm down. This or something better, calm down. Because that was a way for me to manage my thoughts, because really there were a million things I could have thought, a million, and they popped into my head. And I took control because I practiced so much. And I said, no, this or something better. Instead of, we're not going to get the mortgage, this, that, something else. I shouldn't have that. What if Greg loses his job? Like, hello, right? Hello. I could have, whittled myself down and with worry to nothing. And instead, here we are on the day that we closed, thriving and together. And that word again, cohesive, a unit, not, it wasn't like a battle of the wills, because we both got really clear on what we wanted. All right. So I want to dive deeper into this concept of taking charge of your thoughts. All right. So we believe that our thoughts are out of our control. How many of you think your thoughts are not something you can control? They are who you are, and you have the thoughts you have, and that's just the way it is. I would love to hear. All right. So let me just look in the chat and see who's here. Heather is here. Hello. Margaret is here. Michelle is here. Hello, hello, hello. And Maureen and Gwen, George and Pamela, Frederica. Hello. Kim is here. Sarah, Christiane is here. Prapa is here. Earth's Medicine is here. Songai B is here. Kathy is here. Hello. Angela is here. So I just want to see what Heather has to say. People pleasing to the point where I almost didn't exist. Powerful. Coming back to myself. Thanks in part to you, Belinda, the VIP Club, VA School, VA Connection, a journey of self-discovery. I'm so glad to hear that. Yeah, I really did almost not exist. It was terrible. And Debbie, yeah, and Kathy, she says, me always, but I try to cancel the thoughts with a positive thought. Yes, that's the way to get started. That's 100% the way to get started, is to cancel it with a new thought. And, you know, sometimes what I say to my students is, if you can't manage your thoughts in your head, put someone else's voice in your head. Listen to the Rocket Girl show, listen to Lessons from the Cockpit, listen to your favorite podcast. You know, definitely put something in your head to quiet it down. Now, the other thing that will quiet the voices in your head is action. Action. And the problem is that the voices in our head are telling us not to take action. So it's really kind of a problem when we don't jump in. So the other thing I want to talk about is that we believe that just because something's in our head, it's true. That's not the case. Just because I think something doesn't mean it's true at all. And to be open to exploring that makes a big difference. Now, there's a book I want to tell you about. It's written by someone named Carol Dweck. It's called Mindset. It's been around for a long time. Really important work. Really important work. Because what happens is when we believe that we can't make a difference in life, in our own lives, that's what's called a closed mindset. And we're stuck. And I was in a closed mindset where, you know, what my ex-husband thought and my friends thought and my child said and my friends were doing, that all was controlling me. And I was just adrift. You know, I mean, I literally felt like this all the time. And by looking at this concept of the open mindset, which is anything is possible, we can impact our lives, we can manage our thoughts, all of that, it gives you hope, it gives you possibility, instead of a dead end, right? The closed mindset is really all about a dead end. And so you really want to, you definitely don't want to act on everything you think, because if I acted on everything I thought, all right, this is how it goes. Okay. So this is a very simple example, but let me just explain like how I can get out of control. And I'm sure the same thing. Okay. All right. So I bought a ceiling fan. It's brown. One of our neighbors is selling their house. I was looking at the pictures of their house and I'm thinking I shouldn't have got the brown fan. So now I'm looking at the white fans and I'm thinking I should get the white fans. And then I'm like spiraling, completely spiraling in a matter of seconds about the decision I made. That was, I thought it out for a long time. Pictures, talking to my mom, who's like a lighting person, you know, all the things Greg agrees, Emily thinks it's a great idea, but I see one picture and I'm throwing everything out the window, you know, and so I had to stop myself. And I had to say, you bought one fan, let's install it. Let's see what it looks like. If you don't like it there and you think a different fan should go there, there are 6 other rooms where that fan will be fabulous. So let's install it. Let's get the right controller now that you know what that is. And let's see how much you love this fan, because you loved it so much. Let's not decide that we're changing everything because of someone that lives up the street that's selling their house that you just met dead. Okay. And it's the same in business, right? You know, like here I'm running my Rocket Girl business and people say to me, you know what, you should charge a lot more when you do web stuff. Web stuff is way more valuable than admin stuff. And then I think, well, maybe I should do that, right? And then it's easy to just reinvent everything. And instead of focusing on good client work, spreading the word, getting clear about, you know, what I'm doing and getting out there and networking and being proactive, now I'm all of a sudden, I'm redesigning my entire payment system and confusing myself and making things more complicated for me and my client because somebody had an idea. All right, people have ideas all the time. And just because they plop it in front of us doesn't mean that we need to really take it in and go in that direction. Okay, so I want you to know that there are things to do to control your thoughts. The first thing is, control is too strong of a word, because let me just think about this for a minute. Manage. Let's use the word manage. Manage is much better. Control has a different connotation. So to manage your thoughts, you have to be aware of them. That means you need to monitor what you're thinking, and you have to have an open mind about what that is. So if someone came in and said, the wall is purple and you can see that it's white or green, you don't automatically jump to that because that's so obviously not true, right? But when there's a gray area, we get confused and then we muddle everything in our brain. So what I want you to do is, as you're thinking things, I want you to notice them. I want you to notice negativity. I want you to notice closed thinking, and I want you to start to use turnaround phrases. Okay. So I try very hard not to say, I have to. Anytime I say I have to, I say it again and I say, I've decided to. I've decided to. Right? Because I have to, what does that mean? That means I'm not in control. Right? So if I hear myself saying, I need to, or I have to, I think, is that true? Have you decided to do it? Deciding is much more powerful. I've decided to do X. Okay. And there are lots of phrases like this where we put ourselves, we take our power away. And by taking charge of our thoughts in that way and flipping them around, even I can't. Yes, you can. You've decided not to. That's different. I can't meet you for lunch. You might not want to say that to the person you're saying no to. Like, I can't, I've decided not to see you for lunch. But there are more proactive ways to say that. Like, okay, I'm looking at my calendar. I can cancel what I'm doing, or I can say to the person, I have something scheduled for that time already. How about the next day? Right? Which is much different from I can't. I can't has no power. So listen to the voices in your head. And I think you're going to be surprised by how much power you're giving over. I know I was giving it all over, all of it, instead of deciding, right? Instead of deciding. Now, the next thing is you have to get into action, because you can't think your way into business. I saw a quote by Gary Vaynerchuk just recently. What did it say? I've said it before to you guys. You can't think push-ups. Like, if you're at the gym, you've got to do the push-ups to get the results, right? You can't just think push-ups, right? You don't get the result. And it's the same in business. You have to get into action. If you don't get into action, the voices get louder and louder and louder, and it's more difficult to get out of them. And something that I've learned lately about my thoughts is that moving to this new house that I totally love, there are about 1 million projects. I'm not exaggerating. I mean, every place that I look, there's a project. And on one hand, that's very exciting. On another hand, it can be overwhelming. And the thing is that I love the feeling of accomplishment. And I also love the thrill of starting something new. How many of you like the thrill of starting something new, right? It's like you buy so you're going to do a garden, you buy the plants and you think about the edging. And if you're like me, you took wood on the weekend and you outlined what the garden was going to look like, and then I think, well, what about this? And then I'm thinking about the fan, and I'm thinking about all these things. And what I realized is that because there's so many possibilities here, and I haven't had this many possibilities for a very long time when it comes to a home, because I've rented and different things for a long time, I have to finish some things. And so that's why Greg and I were so committed to finishing the woodwork and the light installation in the attic this weekend. And boy, it took a lot of energy for us to stay focused, because we're like out to lunch, and then we're on a bike ride, and then we're in the garden, and then the chickens need something. And we just kept like going back. And he was a champ, I have to say, because he did most of the work in the attic. Because I haven't taken my women's in woodworking class that I'm going to take today. So then I'm going to be able to, know my way around the tools a little bit better. But that's today at 6. I'm very excited. But the point is that we have to keep bringing it back. And now multiple times yesterday, I walked up the stairs and opened the door. I'm like, look at what we did. And I just feel like this relief, like, okay, all right, let's talk about the next step. Okay, we're going to prime the floor. Okay, then we're going to paint the floor. And then we get to the juicy part, which is going through all of our boxes. We have, I don't actually know, 50 boxes, 70 boxes that are not unpacked. And so I'm going to go through them and bring things into the house that we want into the house, and store things that we want to keep, but we're not using right now, like ornaments, and then purge. Like, how juicy is that? But in order to get to that, we had to finish the attic and we had to manage our thoughts. Okay. So yes, so I love this, Maureen. This is one of my favorite quotes. A goal without a plan is just a wish. It's true. It's absolutely true. And think about how many things, you've wanted to put into your life, like owning your own business, owning a house, being out of debt. All of those things are possible with a plan. But without a plan, it's just overwhelming, judgmental. I think about it as smeary. Who likes smeary, right? It's a smeary mess that we can't climb on top of. So decide one thing that you want to accomplish that's going to be important. And for us, the reason the attic was important is because it's going to relieve the pressure of the living room and the bedrooms upstairs, because there's going to be a place for that stuff to move to. And so while the kitchen might be more important, or the bathroom, or even the closet for our clothes might be more important, the attic is going to make the biggest impact. And people probably are thinking, my gosh, you're living in this house, you're not going to live in your attic. Why would you be painting the floor and doing all this? It's because it's a labor of love about the house. I want the attic to be completely finished. The lights, all the things, and to have that peaceful place in the house, even if it's just for storage, before we move on to something else. Okay, so get into action and start to think about, start to monitor your thoughts. It took me years to really get hold of it. So be patient with yourself, but don't let up. Don't let up. Anytime you can, you have a thought and it's time to reframe it, just absolutely do that. Okay. This is hard work, but it is so worth it. And when you start to realize the impact that your thoughts can have on your life and that you can take control of them, you'll be able to take control of and manage everything in your life. Once you understand the power of your thoughts and how you can determine your own actions based on what you think. It's not selfish. I've actually been able to be way more generous with everyone in my life as a result of taking care of myself. Right? George says this is helpful. Good. I'm glad. Yeah. Yeah. Big breath, everyone. Right? Whoa. Heavy stuff. One thought at a time, and make sure that you have one thing you're working on all the time. One thing at a time. Okay, good. Now, some of you I see are new, and that's really very exciting. So thank you for coming. I want to make sure that you know about our, I call it the big group, our big Facebook group. It's called the VA Connection. It's over on Facebook, obviously. And it's a free group. Just click the join button, answer the questions, and come on in. We have over 41,000 members right now, which is very exciting. We post all kinds of useful information there. The community is very compassionate, and lots of education happens over there, and the members are amazing. So I'd love to have you join. All right, so have a great week. Remember, you're the boss of you. All right, you're the boss of you, and monitor those thoughts. Take charge of them and see what happens. Your life will change. It'll absolutely change. Okay, thank you for coming. Goodbye for now. I'll see you soon.